Thank you very much, Cyril. If you are planning to host a cocktail soiree, you're more likely focused on which cheeses to serve than on the implications of your guests overindulging on alcohol. Good judgment sometimes slips when the cocktails start flowing. So what are your legal responsibilities as a party host? Well, lawyer Nicolle Snow of MacGillivray Injury and Insurance Law joins us this morning to talk about this topic. Good morning.
Good morning, Heidi.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And it is something that we do have to keep in mind. This came up with the Supreme Court in 2006 as a big issue, but it's something that people still need to think about with party season. So what should someone who hosts a party think about when it comes to legal liability?
Well, you want to think about, first of all, that the age of your party goers. So you want to make sure that they're the age of majority. You want to make sure you're not over-serving alcohol. So if your guest shows signs of intoxication, then you want to stop serving them alcohol.
So what is the responsibility of a party host then if your guests over imbibe and then end up, say, leaving and getting in an accident, whether they're, however they're being transported? There
can be liability that will follow if you have a guest that overindulges and leaves your home. There are certain circumstances that should be present. So it is a bit of a gray area. Not in every case is a social host going to be responsible for their guests when they leave. But for instance, if you are over-serving and you do know that your guest is intoxicated, you do know that your guest is leaving the house, getting into a car and driving, then it's foreseeable that your guest could enter into an accident. And if you have a foreseeable risk, that's basically when liability might arise.
Because it's that foreseeability that's kind of the litmus test that the court then uses in some cases, right?
Absolutely.
As to whether or not you could, predict that kind of thing could happen.
Absolutely.
And then what could the penalties be for something like that if you're a party host?
Well, it's a civil liability situation, and so it's really measured in terms of quantum money. And so it depends on the nature of the injury. And the cost of care that may arise from the injury, and so there's no set dollar value. But if you're dealing with civil liability, then you're really looking at a dollar value that will be attached to it.
Right, and I guess it would depend on whether it's the party goer who's injured, or if they injure someone else, or. I guess
absolutely. It could be the party goer who gets into an accident and injures another individual, and that other individual is then suing the social host.
Right. The social host is the term for it. So, what are some things that people should do when they host a party? You mentioned don't overserve. What about when it comes to transportation? What should a party host do there?
Well, you may want to ensure that people have taxis. They're going to take a taxi. You may want to have a designated driver at your party who can drive individuals home. Really, you just want to make sure that if your guest has had a lot to drink and doesn't look like they're able to drive, that you find some alternate means for them to get home.
Because it can lie with you and be your responsibility then.
It can.
Yeah.
It can.
If something like this happens over the holiday season to anyone, what should they do?
They should seek legal advice. Absolutely.
ASAP. As of course we hope that nothing like that ever happens. The idea of prevention is where this comes in, right? Think before it becomes an incident. But
yeah, you want your guests to be happy and safe, and to leave your party and get home happy and safe as well.
But if something does come up, consulting a lawyer, always a good idea. Thank you so much for coming in with this reminder for people who are hosting parties over the holidays.
Thanks, Heidi.
Especially as New Year's Eve comes up as well. And, of course, you can go to nslegal.com for more information on MacGillivray and their services. We have more CTV Morning Live coming up in just a few minutes. So please stay with us here on this December 29th. Time right now is 8:45.